Good morning. Good morning. Or should I say, buongiorno tutti. How are you doing this fine but slightly rainy morning? I hope you are all very well indeed. I wish I could say that I was glad to be back, but I'm already missing Italy, Verona, and the SaMoTer show. The weather was amazing. The people were terrific. And oh my God, the food. What the Italians can do with three or four simple ingredients blows my mind and has greatly expanded my waistline. I'm wearing a baggy shirt today. I need to. The diet starts today. Again, good morning, Dan Cullen, who's just popped into the chat. I will press the button for you in a minute, just in a second, Dan. I must apologise in advance for my absence. I was planning to broadcast from Verona, but the internet at the hotel was slow, and it was even slower still at the show itself. So we will be bringing you lots of coverage from the SaMoTer show in the coming weeks and, well, days and weeks, actually. And you'll be able to see precisely why I'm so disappointed to be back in the saddle. Now, just one more thing before we get the show underway. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m, I will be hosting something a bit new. We will be broadcasting a live show dedicated to the subject of mental health in construction. Nothing new there. It's a subject we've covered a lot in the past. We'll also have two guests on the show. Again, nothing particularly revolutionary there either. However, tomorrow night's show will be a panel show. In addition to our two guests, Andy Stevens and Steve Kerslake, we will also have a panel comprising some of our friends and colleagues from across the industry. Now, we only have room for 10 people, including our two guests, but I reckon we still have one or two spots available. So if you'd like to join us as part of our on-screen panel tomorrow night at 7 p.m, please let me know and I will send you the link. Now, without further ado, I do need to press a few buttons. So without further ado, let me roll the intro and get things underway. It is Tuesday, the 9th of May. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, why SaMoTer is my new favourite exhibition. We're heading back to ConExpo in the company of my Italian friends at Venieri, and Bobcat unleashes the power of its compact loaders. Plus, Avant goes for a clean sweep, and we'll get to all that in just a second. But first, let's peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this day in history. On this day in 1502, Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain on his fourth and final trip to the New World. Can never understand going back to somewhere you've been before, although I'm looking forward to going back to Verona. That's a whole other story. In 1868, the city of Reno is founded in Nevada, the second gambling capital of Nevada. In 1874, London's Victoria Embankment opened. On this day in 1914, US President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed Mother's Day. We don't really do proclamations anymore, do we? Maybe we should. In 1926, the first flight over the North Pole was claimed by a pilot with the most appropriate name possibly in history, Richard E. Byrd, or Dickie Bird to his friends. A pilot called Dickie Bird. In 1941, British intelligence at Bletchley Park finally cracked the German Enigma code. 4 years later, the Channel Islands were formally liberated by British forces. In 1958, Alfred Hitchcock released the film Vertigo. And just to show how we became attuned to horror and that kind of thing, 32 years after Vertigo came out, Friday the 13th was unleashed on US audiences in cinemas across America. And on this day in 2016, Boris Johnson resigned as Mayor of London to set in motion one of the most tumultuous periods in British political history. Yeah, remember it well. Now, One of the things that comes with writing about demolition and construction equipment for as long as I have is that I've had to attend a great deal of events and exhibitions. I've probably attended 10 Baumers, 6 or 7 ConExpos. I did about a dozen SEDs, probably a dozen Hillheads, and I haven't missed a single Plantworks. I even attended shows that no longer exist. There was a Hillhead rival show called Mendip 88 in the Mendips, not surprisingly, that I remember attending. And there was another show held at London's Olympia, but I can't actually remember the name of the show. If anyone can remember that, I'd love to hear from you. All that being said, I consider myself something of an exhibition connoisseur. So when I tell you I have a new favourite, you just know I've done my research. This is SaMoTer.
It's been a long time coming, but the sun is shining, the machines are at work, and we are here at SaMoTer 2023.
SaMoTer 2023, welcome to the Komatsu stand, welcome in Italy.
SaMoTer 2023, and we're here at the Indico stand. Italy has a proud tradition of manufacturing some of the best attachments in the entire world, and one of the companies that truly personifies that tradition is Simex.
Yeah, there really was a huge amount to admire at SaMoTer 2023, and I'll come back to that a bit later in the show. But here's the main reason that I've rekindled my love for SaMoTer. Baumer is big, maybe a bit too big. ConExpo brings the razzmatazz, but it's hard work. But SaMoTer is manageable. It's well organized. It's easy to navigate. The weather is better. The food is better. And the welcome from the Italian manufacturers is even better still. And it's just an hour and 40 minutes away. If you think about Ken Hatcher would have to drive about 3 hours from his home to Plantworks, he could probably be in SaMoTer in roughly the same time. So if you get the chance to get yourself to the next SaMoTer show, trust me, you will thank me when you do. And you have plenty of time to plan for it as well. The next show is, when is it? It is the 6th to the 9th of May, 2026. I actually announced that this morning. So yes, put that in your diary, and I hope to see you there. Now, let's have one of these. So a very quick good morning to Mrs. Plantworks, Lou Carney, who's in the chat, and also my mate Gavin Nelson as well. Good morning to you, Gavin. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. It was showing 4 hours, 15 minutes this morning. I take it that's the drive from where you are in Welsh Wales all the way to Plantworks. It's a long old hike, but well worth it. I hope to see you there regardless of everything else. Now, we're going to stick with the Italian theme of this morning's show. which I will be boring you with for quite some time yet. While I was at SaMoTer, I had a very brief meeting with the boss of wheel loader manufacturer Venieri, and I'm trying my very, very hardest to get to his factory at some point in the future to bring you the very latest from one of Italy's most innovative manufacturers. But in the meantime, here's a look back to the company's display earlier this year at ConExpo. Yeah, having spoken to Filippo Venieri himself, I know that they are targeting the US market very actively at the moment. I wish them every success with that. They really do make some very smart machines indeed. Speaking of smart machines, please stick around after this because we've got some more. I was going to pick up on the comment there from Kerry Jones. Venieri has got some cracking backhoe loaders. They really have. And funnily enough, somebody else had some cracking backhoe loaders at the show as well. And that was the mighty Komatsu. We'll be bringing you more from Komatsu and SaMoTer in the days ahead. Now, while myself and Fred were wandering the aisles of the Verona Fieri last week, we happened upon the Bobcat stand, which, as always, looked amazing. Lurking in the middle of the stand was a hydrogen-powered forklift. Now, that's a machine that's clearly not for the construction sector, but it does show that Bobcat already possesses the ability to fuel a machine using hydrogen. So I'll be watching them very closely indeed. Now, that's for the future. As for the present, take a look at this. Going to say a very quick good morning to our friend Steve Williamson. Good morning, Steve. Thank you for joining us. As always, got a good question here from our friend Mick Saunders. Just a thought, I've watched a lot of the shows. I wonder what the nightmare is for the logistics is for the manufacturers to get the machines there. Would hate to think of the transportation costs. I would imagine the transportation costs are high because we are talking about a lot of heavy equipment. These national shows, like Plantworks here in the UK, like Intermat in France, and like SaMoTer in Italy, they are often done. They are either done by the local manufacturers themselves, or they're often done by their local dealer. One that I found interesting was the Komatsu stand was by far the biggest stand at the show, but an awful lot of the content from that was actually from their Este factory, which is about an hour and a half that way. depending which way you're facing. But it's about an hour and a half up the road. They still had an awful lot of machines. There's probably 30 plus machines, I would have thought, on their stand. They all had to get there. So, yeah, the logistics would be quite staggering. And a lot of SaMoTer, interestingly, takes place indoors. There's a big outdoor area, digital construction area, lots of good demonstrations. Particularly, I will highlight MB Crusher, who did a fantastic effort at putting on a show there. Multi-One, the electric equipment manufacturer. Oil Quick had a great display as well. All of that was outside, but a lot of it takes place in the halls. So going back to Mick's question about logistics, that it's not just a case of pitch up and just drive in. You've got to actually get access to those halls, and I would imagine there's a real schedule to make sure that the big equipment goes in first, and then they gradually work back towards the doors. An absolute logistical nightmare, I would have thought, but well worth it. I'm going to say good morning to Gaz Evans. Morning, Gaz, who I would imagine is gearing up for plant works just as we speak, and Jim Turner's with us as well. Good morning, Jim. Thank you for being here. Now, I've done the Bobcat bit, which means this is next.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
I got so caught up in discussions about logistics of exhibitions, I completely forgot to mention myself and Fred are actually visiting Bobcat's European manufacturing facility in the Czech Republic later this month, right at the very end of the month. Hope to bring you more from Bobcat then. As we attempt to bring this episode into land, it's time to swoop up and leave the place spick and span for tomorrow. Best way to do it is like this. How many attachments Avant Techno actually offers these days? If anyone knows, please drop us a line, because I would imagine there are a lot. Now, it's time for one of these. Yes, the Daily Gripe. Today's gripe is actually Italian-inspired, and it's not so much a gripe as an observation that other exhibitions might want to consider. So if you visited Hillhead, Plantworks, Balmer, ConExpo, Intermat, or any of the others, you will know that you are generally greeted upon arrival with a queue at the entrance. Even if you've pre-registered, you have to queue up to get your badge printed. Then you have to queue again to pick up a lanyard upon which to hang your badge. And then you have to walk around the show wearing that name badge for the entire day, having it swiped every 5 minutes by people that are merely trying to capture your name and email address so they can bombard you with spam once the show is over. Compare and contrast that, if you will, with SaMoTer. I'd pre-registered, so I had a QR code on my phone. I arrived at the front entrance, where my QR code was scanned by an electronic turnstile. That was it. No queue, no badge, no lanyard, nothing at all. And rather than exhibitors scanning those name badges, often without even making eye contact in my experience, in Italy, we had a chat. We exchanged telephone numbers, email addresses, business cards, but we actually spoke to each other. And since the show ended, I've had one email, and that was it. That was to invite me to do it all again in 2026. Like their cars, their fashion, and their food, there are just some things that the Italians do better. There is one slight gripe from SaMoTer, though. How many bits of merch, freebies, goodies do you think I came back with? Not one. Not a hat, not a pen, nothing. Nothing at all. Do you know, I don't care. I did come back with a very, very nice pair of shoes. And those of you that watch this show may not know this. Lou Carney will back me up on this. Up until I started doing live streaming, I had a slightly quirky taste in dress and fashion and stuff. This show has made me somewhat lazy in that department. I'd get up and find the first t-shirt or shirt that I've got to hand and throw that on and then go live. Being in Italy has rekindled that passion. So in addition to the shoes that I bought a very fetching summer scarf and a neckerchief. all of which will become clear come Plantworks, because I'm going back to my old ways of actually dressing appropriately. That was the Daily Gripe. If you've got any of your own, anything that grinds your gears or gets your goat, please let us know. But that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning show. But please don't forget, we have an evening show for you tomorrow at 7 p.m. We're talking all things construction mental health with Steve Kerslake and Andy Stevens. Join us if you can, and if you would like to be on the panel, you can do that, but you need to let me know in advance so that I can get you the link over. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, then please do stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. And I hope to see you soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll see you on the other side of this for the crack. Yes. Just I tell you what, I'll come back to that. Let me get some music underway. We've got some new music, haven't we? It was called Neon, and it goes like this. That seems fitting for a rainy morning. Yes, so there is Lou Carney reminding everyone of my dress sense. I remember the crocodile shoes and slacks for the launch of Plantworks. What else would you wear for the launch of a construction equipment exhibition other than crocodile skin shoes? And no, the Ken Hatcher, the Apple Watch, is not you. Generally, I'm sat here in a sweatshirt, so you don't get to see it. I missed the question of the day. Hey, listen, it could still come back. It could still come back. We haven't completely dismissed these things. I'll see what I can do. If you have one, a question of the day that you'd like answered, please let us know. Let me go back to the beginning of the chat, and I will apologise while I'm doing that for last week's absence. We tried desperately hard at the hotel. The upload speed there, which is what drives the show, was just not up to the job. I was assured by the organisers that we would have plenty of internet speed at the show, and we did, but it was all download. There was very little upload speed there either, so it was one hell of a struggle, and it was that bad in some areas I couldn't even do Instagram Live, which is usually fairly forgiving. So there's Ken Hatcher. Good morning to you, Ken, and thank you for your patience while we were swanning around Verona buying shoes and neckerchiefs. Good morning, Mark, says Gary Newhead. Good morning, guys, and welcome back. All joking aside, it is good to be back. Verona is terrific. One of the meals we had, well, my last meal in Verona, and probably my most memorable, but not the most expensive, not the most fancy. I had spaghetti that had on it garlic, olive oil, and chili. There was no meat, there was no fish, no protein whatsoever, just some spaghetti, some olive oil, some chili, and some garlic. Oh my God. I would eat that happily on a daily basis. If anybody ever gets a chance to go to Verona, please do. The arena in the middle of the Piazza Bra, as it is not. See, I've picked up some of the local lingo. There is an arena there, dates back about 2,000 years, ancient Rome. It's the 8th largest arena in the whole of Italy, but it predates the Colosseum in Rome. Something a bit special, and I've got some photographs that I will be sharing over the coming weeks and what have you. There is our friend Mick on this morning. Mick, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and thank you for your question about the logistics of exhibitions. Good morning, welcome back. Mark says, Dan Cullen, thank you very much indeed, and it is good to be back. Top of the morning, lads and ladies, he says. Kerry Jones has joined us as well, all the way from Welsh Wales. What's the weather doing in Welsh Wales today? Can't wait to see what a week you had in Italy. It really was. I didn't do some of what I planned to do. I was planning to do a sort of like a travel vlog while I was there. But we were just so busy, didn't have the time to do it. But we've got some great coverage of the show, which I will be bringing you in the very near future. In fact, I'm hoping to have perhaps the first part, maybe the Komatsu part, ready for you tomorrow. But watch this space. And there's Lou Carney saying, welcome back. It's good to be back. Would I swap a live show for another trip to Verona? No. I'd happily go and jump on a plane right now, actually. But there you are. That's not an option. There is Ken Hatcher saying, it was showing 4 hours, 15 minutes this morning. That I'm assuming that is the journey to Plant Works from Welsh Wales. Ken is actually on a day off, back to work tomorrow. Yeah, I have to say I was very grateful that we did get the extended weekend. I deliberately haven't seen a single frame of footage of the coronation. I managed to avoid all of that completely. There was a very, very naff street party outside my front door. Managed to avoid that as well. But it was for those of you who know, I've got 4 kids, and the middle 2 are twins, and it was their 30th birthday on Sunday. So we all had a day out on Sunday. Went up to Ivy Asia in St Paul's, just outside St Paul's Cathedral. Food spectacular, views even more incredible. Good walk along the Thames. You know, if you're a Londoner, that's the kind of thing you do, I guess. And then last night we went off to do one of these escape rooms. And I was very sceptical about it going in. I don't mean going into the room. I mean, when I was told I was going to an escape room, I have to admit I was slightly underwhelmed by the idea. You'd be amazed just how quickly you buy into it. Within about 5 minutes of getting in the room, it was all hands to the pumps and trying to escape. We didn't, as it turns out. We got close, but we didn't quite get out. Venieri got some cracking backhoe loaders. Yeah, they're also doing some work with I think the Italian military, where they're doing some military style vehicles. Some of their bigger wheel loaders, but decked out in military green, with some added extras as well. Fantastic company and doing some great things. And Venieri is one of those companies, to my mind, they seem to come and then go. It feels like they've come back again. I don't know if that is actually the case or whether I just wasn't paying attention, but it does feel like Venieri are very much resurgent. There is Mick Saunders' comment about the logistics. I know I've been up to Hillhead in particular. If anyone that knows, Hillhead basically has one road in and one road out. That's it. So organising that, particularly when you're talking about getting in heavy equipment, and I'm not just talking about sort of the big dump trucks and the big excavators, but also some of the big crushing equipment. You know, the logistics of making sure that runs like clockwork, both in and out, and making sure that people are there on their schedules to get their equipment in to clear the way for the next batch to come in. Absolute logistical nightmare. I don't know how they do it, but hats off to everybody that organises an exhibition, because it is quite a feat. Venieri looks a tidy outfit. They really are, and such a nice bunch of people as well. There is Steve Williamson, who is surely right now counting down the days to the big day. Much bigger than SaMoTer, much bigger than anything, pretty much. He's getting married, for those of you that don't know. Wow, that Bobcat looks nice. I have to say, Bobcat were indoors at SaMoTer, in one of the halls, and I think the white and red and black livery kind of helps. But you turn the door into one of the halls, and there was Bobcat. Just resplendent. It looked absolutely fantastic. And as I say, we did spot a hydrogen-powered industrial forklift, not for construction, but Bobcat clearly has the know-how. How long before they apply that to one of their compact machines? Be watching this space, and as I say, myself and Fred are off to see them in their Czech Republic factory. First time for me, actually. First time for Fred as well, funnily enough. So we're off there at the end of this month, and I'll be reporting back from there just as soon as we get back. There's Gaz Evans and Jim Turner. Morning to you, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. There is Steve Williamson talking about the Avant Techno sweeper, a decent dust suppression on that. Yeah, you certainly need there to be. That would be a tidy outfit on a few housing projects to keep roads clean and dust down. Yeah, dead right. And no, not a new Apple Watch, but you know, I missed the question of the day. Starting to worry about that. I may have to do something about that. Yeah, you truly are the Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen of the construction sector. That was always what I aspired to be. Listen, you know, I don't need to justify these things because, you know, that's just the way it is. But I kind of discovered fashion around about sort of new romantic time in British fashion, where you were basically encouraged to dress a little bit more flamboyantly. And I miss doing so. I've got a collection. I reckon I've got about 12, possibly 15 suits. I own more than 400 ties, none of which have had an outing in 3 years. Not sure if the ties are coming back, not even sure if the suits are coming back, but you can expect the outfits to change somewhat. I returned from Italy inspired. Definitely, Steve, another one here for question of the day. Surely there's room for question of the day and the gripe on a daily basis. You see, I cannot, you know, the customer's always right and you guys are the customers, I guess. The only problem is that the question of the day that we used to do featured the old style branding. So I will have to have a word with Fred to see if we can come up with some new style branding and a new question of the day. Might not be tomorrow, might not be the day after, but it looks like that may be coming back. It's sunny at the moment. It's absolutely chucking it down here at the moment, but it's been funny old weather. That was one of the joys of Verona. We arrived on Saturday lunchtime, and there was like a light drizzle. Wasn't unpleasant. You could walk around in it, but it was light drizzle. Following day, which was we arrived on the Monday. Let me get this right. We arrived on the Monday. Monday was a bit drizzly. Tuesday was exactly the same. Wednesday, when the show opened, glorious. I think we hit 23 degrees on that day. The second day was 24 degrees. The final day of the show was 25 degrees. So you can't see it, but there are tan marks. I won't show them to you because, frankly, nobody needs to see that, but there are. Finally free from the bench, off over the bridge to deliver models to my friends at Molson in Avonmouth. Lucinda, the boss, doing the driving as always. I'm glad to see that you're not viewing the show and driving at the same time. Good morning, Lucinda, by the way. Thank you very much indeed for taking such fine care of Gaz and taking such good care of the stock that you have on board. I'm sure Molson will be delighted to see you. Mark, suits will never go out. We have now started to be suited and booted in the local on a Sunday. We are old EastEnders, and we have a certain class. Do you know, it's funny as I chart my my history, such as it is. When I was on a magazine, and this is something I'm planning to do on a video at some point. But when I used to work on Contract Journal and Plant Managers Journal back in the day, it was required for me to wear a suit, not just a suit in the office, but a suit on site, at exhibitions, everywhere. Suit, shirt, tie. That was expected. So 5 days a week, I was in a suit, shirt, tie, smart shoes, the whole kit and caboodle. So when the weekend rolled around, I generally reverted into the scruffiest jeans, often with lots of holes in them, and the scruffiest unironed t-shirt that I could lay my hands on. Then I started to work from home, and I could wear scruffy t-shirts and scruffy jeans all the time. So when the weekend rolled around, it was time to break out the suits, the shirts and the ties. The problem with COVID and the working from home on a prolonged basis, and I'm 3 years into it now. All of that goes out of the window. So it is time. It is time to go back. I'm not going to be wearing suits to exhibitions because, frankly, my suits are too valuable to be wearing on construction sites and what have you. But they are going to start getting an outing. Did I try the limoncello? I did not. I drank an awful lot of Italian lemonade, but not the limoncello. But my wife did drink her body weight in Aperol spritz while we were there. It's the way that she operates. You know, the first day I think she had her first Aperol spritz at 2 in the afternoon. Second day it was about 1 in the afternoon. By the final day we were expecting to order Aperol spritz with breakfast, and she did. Mick, I wasn't going to mention Millwall, even though you have, as you rightly said there. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. Obviously, there is this long-held rivalry between Millwall and West Ham. Mick is a Millwall man. I'm a West Ham man. He and I should be mortal enemies. The problem is that both of my grandfathers were Millwall fans. The first football match that I ever attended live was at the Old Den. In fact, the first 2 or 3 games that I went to live were at the Old Den. So I do have a soft spot for Millwall, and I was really cheering them on yesterday. But it wasn't to be. Maybe next time around. They'll make it one of these days. And no, for those of you that don't know, I did actually share a picture with our WhatsApp group. There was a restaurant. As it turns out, it wasn't the only restaurant. There was a restaurant that was offering gnocchi, you know, those little potato pastry dumpling things, with donkey sauce. And I just naturally assumed that donkey sauce was something that got lost in translation. Turns out, not so much. No, there is an awful lot of donkey, horse and mule meat on sale in Italy, well, in Verona at least. And I was absolutely 100% planning to try the donkey sauce, but we never got back there. We basically toured the city, and as we were walking past, we must come back there and have dinner there. And there weren't enough days for me to get back and do the donkey sauce. But I'm 100% going back to Verona. I'm not working for the Verona Tourist Board here, but it's an hour and 40 minutes. The EasyJet flight was about 110 quid. The accommodation was reasonable, shall I say? And it's all walkable. We were staying just behind the piazza where the arena lies. So literally we walked about 50 yards and we were presented with the entire piazza. The whole thing is lined with restaurants. There is also, that was the Piazza Bra, there's a Piazza Urbe just down the road, maybe, I don't know, half a mile's walk, and there's another bunch of restaurants there. Lots and lots to see. And I was planning to do a video around this one as well, but as I say, didn't have time for the vlogging. How's this for a weird thing? You may remember that Al Grierson, our friend over in Luxembourg, mentioned the fact that there is a statue of Juliet, you know, from Romeo and Juliet, in Verona, because the whole of Romeo and Juliet is set in Verona, as is Two Gentlemen of Verona. Shakespeare quite clearly liked his trips to Verona. And there is a statue of Juliet, and you can visit the balcony. And bear in mind, we're talking a fictional character here, so it's a statue of a fictional character, and there is a balcony that supposedly belongs to this fictional character. All of that aside, one of the things that you are kind of expected to do when you visit Juliet's statue, apparently, is to rub her right breast for good luck. Under normal circumstances, the rubbing of breasts is not something I find objectionable, until you recall the book. You remember, if anybody's ever actually read Romeo and Juliet, you might recall that at one point you are told that Juliet is on the cusp of 14 years old. On the cusp of 14 years old. So for good luck in Verona, you are kind of expected to rub the right breast of the statue of a 13-year-old girl. I have to admit, that made me feel more uneasy than the idea of donkey sauce, but maybe that's just me. All that being said, Verona, if you've been there, you'll know. If you haven't, please do yourself a favour. Go and take a long weekend there. Those of you that are married or with girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever it might be, fantastic romantic place to go. I mean, romantic if you haven't got a 6 or 8 like I had in tow with Fred. But yeah, romantic nonetheless. Really fantastic place. And yeah, I'm going back specifically to try the donkey sauce. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. And I'm going to wrap it up fairly early because I have a duty to perform, and it's one that is long overdue. Because of my trip to Verona and because of my twins' birthday and because of the celebrations this weekend, my dogs have been in kennels for nearly 10 days. I am going to pick them up. As soon as the show is over. Myself and Ed's next destination then. Yeah, listen, all joking aside, Stephen, I realise you're picking up on my suggestion that it's a romantic place, and the romance, I'm sure, is continuing. But boy, they could have done with you boys over there. Your friends at Kinsoffer had a stand, obviously, or part of the Kinsoffer organisation had a stand there. I did actually bump into Thomas on my travels around the show. He actually caught me talking to myself. I was talking to a camera, but I was talking to myself. But there was some outside areas. The MB Crusher stand, fantastic. The Oil Quick stand, fantastic. But it could have done with a bit of the Ed and Steve magic over there, I would say. Don't let the old Bill get them. Not sure what that one's about. No. Okay. Anyway, people, that will do me. I'm going to go and put my shoes on because I'm sat here barefoot because, you know, I've been to Italy and that's how they roll in Italy. I'm going to be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. As usual. Also going to be back here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And as I say, it is going to be a new show format. We are gathering together some of our construction content creators club, so the likes of Ed and Steve, if they can make it, and a few other people as well, and we are going to I'll come back to Mick in just a second. So yeah, we're going to have those guys on the show as well, but we're going to have 2 guests. So I'll be the host, although I don't think there's going to be a lot of hosting done. It's going to be a discussion, but the discussion will be live with an audience of panelists, with our 2 guests, Steve Kerslake and Andy Stevens as well. Look at the video as to what they've done at Limehouse. I can only imagine. But just on that subject, that's obviously the negative side of football fans. Did anyone see the footage of the celebrations in Naples after Napoli won Serie A over the weekend? Literally lit up the sky. And my mate John Woodward at C&D Consultancy was celebrating his 70th birthday. Belated happy birthday, John. Was celebrating his 70th birthday in Sorrento, which is kind of round the bay from Naples. I reckon 30, maybe 40 miles away, and he could see the fireworks from where he was staying. Unbelievable. Congratulations, Napoli, on a well-deserved Serie A title. And obviously, the mighty West Ham live to fight another day. By turning over Man United, we have secured our place in the Premiership next year as well. By the skin of our teeth, as is always the case, but glad to report we'll be doing more of the same. Just a shame we won't be welcoming those fine folks of Millwall down to London Stadium. Oh, the carnage, can you imagine? Right, people, before I start coughing, I'm going to fetch my dogs because I've missed them for 10 days. I'll see you again tomorrow at 10. I'll see you again tomorrow at 7. You could do one, you could do both, you could do neither. It's entirely up to you, but we'd love to have you for both. Till then, everybody, let me just... I'm going to put that one up. Okay, well done, the Hammers. Thank you very much. See, hands across the ocean, that is. I'm saying nice things about Millwall, and Mick, through gritted teeth, is saying nice things about West Ham. I have been in Italy for a week, so it's only right and proper that my final word should be arrivederci. See you soon.